on there. Okay, welcome to our fourth community conversation. We're very excited to have you here today. I'll quickly show the agenda so everyone knows what's going on today. Just a second. Funny how things. Oh, can I ask that we mute yourselves, please? There. Okay, here's our agenda for tonight. I'll do a brief opening, and then we have Michelle Franz from the Baha'i Community, our dear friend, who will speak to us about International Women's Day from the Baha'i perspective and her own personal perspective. Then we have our keynote. We're very lucky to have Brenda Gustin from California, from Sacramento, joining us today, and she will inform us on how they started their compassionate community so we can learn. Next, we'll have Maria May from King Township Women of Influence Giving Circle, and she's the Dean and Principal of the Seneca College King Campus. Then following that, we have Leena Mistry from the Canadian Library Project, a very interesting and newly launched project that we'll hear about. And then Marge, our co-founder, will give a report of what we've been doing, new things, very good news that we'll be sharing. Then we have our guests, special guests that have also joined us today, and we'll have some greetings from them. And as we always do, we let you know what is happening at the Charter for Compassion. So as you can see, our 90 minutes together are going, they're full of stuff. In between, we have gotten room for questions for the guests and for us. Whatever comes up, we encourage you to use the chat as well. If you're not comfortable being, asking the question, and also you're not required to have your video on. It's totally up to you. This is a good time to remind everybody how we hold space when we conduct our community meetings. We open our hearts and with courage to explore the ideas and the uncomfortable things that are happening in our community. We gather in a circle of trust where every voice is welcomed and heard. And lastly, we commit to civil discourse. We imagine, even though, this is a virtual space, but we imagine it to be a living room conversation that we're all having. So that's kind of the atmosphere that we have an intention of creating when we're together. Now, before we proceed, I'd like to do the land acknowledgement. That I want to let you know, I'm going to be a Canadian citizen next week. And so with that, I am doing my learning, and I have tried to create something that would come from my heart. So just a second here, managing the screen. Okay, let us begin our virtual gathering by respectfully acknowledging our presence on the traditional territories and ancestral lands and waters of the original stewards, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe. We realize that York Region is a colonial boundary that is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty, signed with many Mississauga and Chippewa bands. We recognize that we're here as uninvited guests, as settlers, and that we're all treaty people bound by the responsibility to honor and heal our relations with each other. We pray that beloved Creator help us recognize our common humanity, interconnection, and interdependence. Thank you for joining me in that. Next is a because of the times we're in, there is a, just a second, there is a prayer, a video I'd like to play. It is Julia Ward Howe's Mother's Day Proclamation for Peace. And it's very special to me and to Brenda. Brenda and I work together in the Women and Girls sector, Gender Partnership sector and the Women and Girls Initiative. The voice we'll be hearing is the voice of our dear beloved ambassador and sister, Joan Marie, who passed last year. So this was very, very dear to Joan, sorry. I have a little, just a second. I had set up how to share this. No.
Did you know that residents in Ontario owe more than $6,000 and have up to 80% of debts, including credit cards, loans?
Sarah gets that down. I'm going to say hi to Sherry, who's able to pop in. Sherry's one of our co-founders, so glad to see you. And as well, Kathy McNackey, thank you for joining us. And Mahi from MP Jahari's office. It's good that you've joined us as well. So, okay.
Thank you, Marge. Apologize, these things. Okay, we're ready.
The Mother's Day Proclamation. In 1870, Julia Ward Howe wrote a proclamation. She was a feminist, a suffragette, and an advocate for social justice.
Sarah, I'm not.
She called for an appeal.
Pardon?
Can't see the screen. We can't see the screen.
Anyone else?
You can't see the screen?
We can't see the screen. The video playing.
Sorry.
You just need to share your screen.
Yeah, I thought I did, but all right. Let's do it now. Thank you, Brenda.
The Mother's Day Proclamation. In 1870, Julia Ward Howe wrote a proclamation. She was a feminist, a suffragette, and an advocate for social justice. She called for an appeal to mothers to spare their sons and the sons of others the great sufferings created by war. She lived the rest of her life traveling the world and sharing this message of peace. See if you can feel her plea and let it move you. Here is the proclamation. Arise then, women of this day, arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses nor applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs.
From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with ours. It says, disarm! Disarm! Not without substance. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession.
As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left at home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Then let them solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each learning after his own time, the sacred impress, not of Caesar,
but of God. In the name of womanhood and humanity, I earnestly ask that a General Congress of Women without limit of nationality may be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with its objects, to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, this great and general interests of peace.
Starting an online stories.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us in this moment in time where we can all join in prayer. I will now quickly turn it over to Michelle Franz from the Baha'i Community, our very dear friend. And she has graciously offered to speak to us about International Women's Day and a few thoughts on that. Michelle, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm delighted to be here with you all to share in this space where we're looking at creating compassionate communities. And I wanted to share just a couple of stories and personal dialogue and a little bit about my personal beliefs. And I want to start off with sharing a story of a remarkable lady that I met in Chicago in 2019. And her name is Mahnaz Javid. And the story of Mahnaz is the story of many whose life experiences has compelled them to give back to the community. She was born in privilege, but experienced hardship and poverty while growing up due to political circumstances back home. She was shaped by her childhood experience and inspired by a young lady by the name of Mona Mahmoud Najad. She was a 16-year-old girl who was executed in 1983 in Iran because of her Baha'i beliefs, and because her crime was teaching children's classes. So in 1999, Mahnaz founded the Mona Foundation to honor Mona's commitment and continue her unfinished work in promoting education and social justice. Mahnaz's vision and collaborative efforts with like-minded individuals and organizations has provided support and education to over 2.3 million children in over 21 countries. And I wanted to share her story tonight because we are here at a meeting to create compassionate communities. This is the week that we're also celebrating, continuing our celebrations for International Women's Day. We recognize the social, economic, cultural, and political contributions of women who've paved the way for the benefits and the very freedoms that we enjoy today. Women have made significant contributions, and we've certainly come far, but there's still so much more that needs to be done when we're talking about gender equality. The advancement of women is essential for social progress. And one of the principles of the Baha'i faith is the equality of man and woman. Looking at this principle with a spiritual lens, what we believe is that what makes human beings human is their inherent dignity and nobility. This search for meaning, for purpose, for community, the capacity to create and love, compassion, these things have no gender. And we believe that the spiritual principles are actually very practical, and putting them into action is going to have significant impact on the progress that we make within our communities. And one of the analogies that I love in the Baha'i scriptures regarding the equality of men and women is that the world of humanity has two wings. One is women and the other men. And not until both wings are equally developed can the bird fly. So should one wing remain weak, flight is impossible. Now, despite our progress, as I mentioned earlier, much work remains to be done. The National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States has said the elimination of discrimination against women, it's a spiritual and moral imperative that must ultimately reshape existing legal, economic, and social arrangements. Promoting the entry of greater numbers of women into positions of prominence and authority is necessary, but not sufficient step in creating a just social order. Without fundamental changes in the attitudes and values of individuals and the underlying ethos of social institutions, full equality between men and women cannot be achieved. A community that's based on partnership, a community in which aggression and the use of force are supplanted by cooperation and consultation, it requires the transformation of the heart. So dear friends, this very meeting here tonight and many chapters of similar schools of thought, interfaith circles, NGOs, individuals, young, old, black, white, were more united, although it seems that there's a lot of divisiveness, but we are more united than ever in bringing about social change and justice. We can't dispute that the world today stands at a threshold of a new stage of global connection. And in the last 2 years, we learned that an event that happens across continents has ripple effects in our lives thousands and thousands of miles away. Now, the great news in all of this is that this is the hallmark of the stage, that is the growing awareness of our oneness and that humanity is one family. Building compassionate communities starts with our recognition of that principle, our allyship with those who differ from us, and for us to provide our support to those who need it most. This practice of compassion starts at grassroots, in our homes, in educating our children to that inner nobility and the view of the oneness of humanity. It starts in our neighborhoods, where we can all be protagonists of change, that when we see an injustice, we call it out, for us to be empathetic, to see where we can practice our authentic convictions in helping others and shape thinking and make the change. It's through this, our thoughts, our actions, our collaborations and intent to inspire to make a change, that we can actually create a more compassionate York region. And I want to close off by sharing another story of a wonderful, inspiring young lady by the name of Maggie Doyne. And I don't know, I'm sure many of you have heard about her, but she was an 18-year-old native of New Jersey. Before heading off to college, she decides to go backpacking, and she's in Nepal when she has this life-altering experience. She comes across these multitude of children, these orphans that are breaking stone for survival. And the sight of so many of these orphans, it actually had a tremendous impact. It devastated her. There were so many of them. How could anything be done? Until she had this chance meeting with a 6-year-old Hema. It changed her life. And when she met Hema, she was overcome with so much compassion for this little girl that she thought, okay, I can't change 80 million, but what if I can change one life? Let me start with that. So she put Hema through school, she paid her tuition and supported her. And within 2 weeks, she saw this remarkable change. It was transformative. So she expanded her efforts, and to help more children, she asked her parents to send over $5,000 of her babysitting money that she saved. And within 10 years, at the age of 29, she had become a mother to 50 orphans. And her story has made headlines. She was CNN Hero of the Year. It's a phenomenal story. Google her if you have an opportunity. And currently her project in Nepal runs a school, children's home, women's center, and a girls' safe house. I think there's more activities that's happening there. But I wanted to just close off with what she had shared about her experience. And I think it's very applicable to every single one of us. And she said that at 18, I wasn't the wisest, the wealthiest, or the expert on orphan care and education, but I knew that I found a cause I was passionate about. We constantly tell ourselves about the things we we will do when we have more money, when we receive that PhD, or when we settle down. But she says, what if everything we need is everything we have right now? We have all the power and the ability to generate change. It's your duty to find your passion. And when you do, use your skills and talents to improve our world, no matter how far it takes you off the beaten path. So dear friends, we all have a path, and we're all here tonight with a shared vision of creating more compassionate communities. And we don't have to travel to 21 countries or go to the mountains of Nepal. We can work together at the grassroots levels within our families, neighborhoods, and communities to really make a difference. And there is power when we come together. In the words of Brant McGill, the greatest joys in life are found not only in what we do and feel, but also in our quiet hopes and labors for others. Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. I wrote to you, if you could put the names of the two women in the chat for everyone, then that's great research and learning for us. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you in our future meetings, Michelle.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to our keynote. And it's an honor, a pleasure for me to introduce you, Brenda Gustin, Brenda Astara Gustin. Like I mentioned before, Brenda and I work together in the Women and Girls Initiative, and we meet weekly and have known each other. I joined Women and Girls in 2018. I believe Brenda has been there for longer. She can tell you that. I'll give you a brief bio of who Brenda is, and then we'll give it the stage to Brenda. So Brenda has focused her life upon peace and freedom. Creating opportunities to live peaceful and happy lives has been possible through her collaborations in co-founding a Sudbury school for her children and others, bridging gaps for nonprofits through Mercy Springs, and now with Chill Sacramento. She provides yogic techniques for health and wellness through UC Davis Medical Center, Akua Mind Body Center, the Radiant Health Center, and business environments. Her passion for peace expanded years ago through the International Day of Peace, Masahisa Goe's Peace Pole Project, and the Charter for Compassion, where she serves as a core circle member in the gender partnership sector. Welcome, Brenda. And I believe you wanted to screen share as well. You are muted.
No.
Now you're good. I couldn't hear you in the beginning.
Okay, I just maybe wasn't talking loud enough. It is an honor to be here. I met Sarah at the Parliament of World Religions when we did an event there, and it's lovely to see her growing this group in your area in Toronto. Also working for the last several years with Sarah in the gender partnership, developing it from the Women and Girls initiative. As my bio said, I really got into this a long time ago, although I wasn't necessarily conscious of how much I live for peace and freedom. Kind of just came into it because it's the essence of who I am. As you stated, the Sudbury School was for children of all ages, and it was based on the notion of Socrates to know thyself. And it was about really allowing children to learn, because human beings are innately curious, and allowing them to blossom and grow and find where their strengths are naturally. And then when we build from those strengths, then we find that where we fit in. And I love how our children have turned out. They're amazingly independent and responsible citizens in the world. My work with the Charter for Compassion began a little bit after we held our first Day of Peace here in Sacramento. I had met Joan, whose voice you heard early on. Were training in hospice work, and then got to know each other, and I was running the school, and then she told me about this International Day of Peace that she wanted to hold, and I was at that time then with Mercy Springs Foundation. So I've worked in community, co-founding a school, working with children and people of all ages, and then also internationally. And as Michelle said, it's really important to recognize we never know what our little part plays. I had no idea. It was a little article that was passed to me in my diaper bag from a girlfriend that said, you might be interested in this philosophy of a school. And it was in Mothering Magazine, and I read about it, and I said, wow, tell me more. And we opened a school. And the same thing happened with the charter. I found out about the Masahisagoi, the Peace Pole. I found out about the International Day of Peace that Joan wanted to put together. And I was with Mercy Springs Foundation, which is an organization, a nonprofit that helps bridge gaps, because there's so many nonprofits, so many groups that are silos. And it was about getting together with people and recognizing the underlying connection that we have so that we don't duplicate our efforts, and so come together in organizations rather than have all these little ones, because as you know, it takes a lot of components to run any organization. And so Mercy Springs was about bringing people in, and we would bring people in and sponsor them as well. And I adored the organization because it was all about what makes your heart sing. What is it that you really want to invest in and become passionate about? So I invited all of my Mercy Springs ladies to meet Joan so that they could get involved in the International Day of Peace. And that was how that began. And then from there, it just started to grow, and we met more people. And I was holding a board meeting because I had met Renee Marie, who is a wonderful major from the military who had been planting peace poles in the world and mostly at schools. And I wanted our board to give them money, her money to plant more in schools. I wanted our board, we supported the International Day of Peace where we were having the peace poles and all of these events with people that are invested in compassion, peace, harmony, really supporting each other. And so we invested in the polls. I got very involved in that. Now have the Peace Pole Gardens Project. Well, that night there were people that came together around the idea of the Peace Pole, and all of a sudden there was a group from all these different groups that we decided we're going to become a compassionate city. And so one of our friends, Nahid from Afghanistan, she is a lovely woman, and she invited us to then do some filming. And so we did some filming, we came together, we then started working with the political atmosphere here in Sacramento. And then Mercy Springs, we kind of decided that we were going to shift and kind of wind down the organization. And so we thought, well, why don't we transfer our nonprofit to Chill Sacramento? And so I'm on the board for Chill Sacramento, and I'm the program director for Mercy Springs, now a program under Chill. Chill and all of those other groups got together, and we were able to have Mayor Steinberg sign a resolution making Sacramento a compassionate city. And I wanted to share here the resolution because I know people are interested in what they might look like. And I can also share this with Sarah so that she could share with you, because sometimes people don't know how to write it. And so since then, we have now, and I'll share it for a moment more, but since then, we now have Compassionate Elk Grove and we have Compassionate West Sacramento. So look how it just springs up, right? Mercy Springs, the passion for peace that I had and community, and then meeting like-minded people. I'm going to stop sharing because I like to see all of you. And the peace pole for me was so perfect, and for Joan, because both of us being yogis and helping people with life and death, learning how to live and die gracefully, and really be in the center of peace requires that each of us be that peace. And so the peace pole represents that very center of our body. Some call it the Hara line, some call it as the Sushumna. There's other terms for it. And I take it around. This one I have in my office here. I had it made specifically so it would fit 6 feet in my car. It has 8 languages on it. And I carry it around so that I can show people that peace truly does begin within. And it begins for each of us with our breath, to settle in, to open our hearts, and to open every single cell in our body, the nuclei and presence of being peace. And when we do that, we absolutely come into the voice that is true, that is real, that is honest, and we drop down into the womb. So that woman, and whether we be a man or a woman or any other gender identification, we all came from one. So the beauty that I love about organization, and also meeting the Charter for Compassion, which came to my life in 2017, was such a gift. And I was also working with the Shift Network here in town. I love the fact that there is an organization that is bigger than us, that takes us out of our silos in our city, and we can collaborate, and we can show people here how they can collaborate and learn how many people around the world are doing beautiful work just like them. Because sometimes we can get discouraged in our own city. There tends to be more competition, is what I have recognized within a city. Yet when you then expand beyond that, you get more collaboration. And utilizing the charter by sending people to the charter for the global read, to meet with other areas of interest, and to get to know people all over the world, actually increases whatever it is that I am from that little point of view, that small point of view. And so I look at it as even businesses here, the partners that we join in, and I don't mean to say even businesses, but oftentimes it's organizations, yet it can be a small business that joins the charter, and all of a sudden it's like they've got all these departments and they can connect with all these experts and like-hearted and like-minded people. So it's like growing your own organization exponentially. So what Sacramento did in the organization of our city is, in our actual city center, we have 8 districts. And so we took those districts and we invited people from those districts to represent, and those people are called ambassadors. And I'm going to share a screen here, a picture of them. Let me get it to open. And here are some of the ambassadors. They've changed a little bit. You see in the middle, we've got the Post for Peace and Justice, because we've gotten to know Kira Corser with the charter. And so we painted these and also created a program training artists so that they can paint these and work in communities here. So in addition to the Peace Poles Gardens project, we also have the Post for Peace and Justice, which actually became a very large art exhibit at the Crocker Art Museum here locally last year in honor of our dear friend Joan. When that was planned, we didn't know she was going to pass on. She ended up having a brain tumor and left her body before the exhibit. Yeah, we got to honor her there. So you can see that the Post for Peace and Justice is a part of the charter, and so Kira Corser and Lisa Parsons came here to town and trained all these artists. And so now another thing that, we're doing is I talked with all of the different artists and then also of the different ambassadors, and I have the honor and privilege right now to be able to get some monies out, some donated monies out to the organizations, and we're looking at that from the district point of view so that the ambassadors can have something that's dear to their heart and they're passionate about, and we can bridge a gap there and also introduce them to the charter. So, and see if they would like to partner. And so I'm just now at the point where I'm getting to be able to do that. I've interviewed the founders of the Post for Peace and Justice program, Lisa and Kira, and have some beautiful videos about their work. And then I'm going to be videotaping and interviewing all of these other organizations, introducing them to the charter and vice versa, hopefully through the newsletter and or the Core Circle newsletter for the gender partnerships. So that's how we roll. I'm not sure if I've covered everything, Sarah. If there's more, I know that there were some questions that we had here, that what can women do to empower themselves, and just like what Michelle talked about, this woman who just followed her passion. And I really look at compassion as, yes, being able to step in and feel and empathize with another person's suffering. And I think it's vitally important that we care for ourselves by being passionate about what we're doing in our lives, that we come into our passion, because then that energy, that source energy within us does it for us. And we're in this overflow rather than overwhelm. Because as I look here with the men and women here, we all have so many different talents. And like in our core circle, we allow that to rise to the surface so that a person can really express from that inner sanctity of who they really are, rather than trying to do something that's really hard and is not something that you're good at, actually. There's a lot of things I can do, but I'm not great at them. So another person loves it, and it's their passion, and so they're the ones. So just because I can doesn't mean, and we all know this, doesn't mean I'm the one. So that collaboration is so important, and we can feel it in our bodies. So I always welcome people to drop into their bodies to feel it. And if it doesn't feel magnetic and lovely and wonderful inside of you, let it go. It's really that simple. Because somebody else is going to pick it up because they love that part. And they're going to run with it. So recognize that your voice matters. And when we are in that place, in that sovereign nation within our own selves, and we allow ourselves to be free to express our own truth, then we're in harmony and collaboration with our own selves. And then our voice is clear, it's strong, we're stable, and we're completely able. Valuing yourself. That's how we value ourselves and the other. The charter and the groups that I work in, what I really love is to put a hand out and help that other person. And I'm not famous. There's so many people that are famous in the world, and I love introducing people to that fame, and then also having that famous person put their hand out to help the other, because there's an infinite possibility and potential, and touching one person makes such a difference. So I invite each of us to look at ourselves, write out how you're a compassionate person. When we put it down in writing, we activate all of the senses. We see it, we hear it, we touch it. And when we write it on paper, we send it out through the trees. And it communicates in a whole different way, just like the trees and the mycelium complex into the world, because we are not separate from this earth. And our indigenous peoples are teaching us that in so many ways. Learn how to feel your emotions and allow your emotions. I meditate on a regular basis. That's where I do all of the work, because none of these ideas are mine. They just come through. And it's like catching a falling star. It's like, oh, I get to catch an idea and see if it fits and send it back out. So I don't own it. And when I sit in meditation, one of the words I asked is, I said, why is it that the word war spelled opposite is raw? And I heard, because until you humans feel those raw emotions and clean them up, you'll have war inside yourself, and you'll always have war outside. So clean it up inside. And the ancient yogic teachings in the Mahabharata shares this story. And probably many other traditions share that. Clear those emotions and allow them to flow. I call it kind of cleaning myself up from the inside out. And when I clean it up, then I'm not activating and creating war outside myself. So when somebody hurts me, it's because they're giving me a gift to find out where that pain is inside myself. The indigenous tribes we know, and it's stated in the Holy Bible, and it's probably in other ancient texts, that we are caring for 7 generations before us and 7 generations after us. Even if you don't believe in reincarnation, you don't have to, because they're right here incarnate. In the DNA, in the very cells of our body, is my grandmother, my great-grandfather. And they activate within us, and they wake up. And this is the Great Awakening. And so let's bring ourselves into that balance of the masculine and feminine, no matter how we look on the outside, in all different cultures. And I feel the Charter for Compassion gives us just the perfect place to learn more, to receive, to get the different perspectives, and to be able to share. And I'm so happy that I met Sarah, that I've met Marilyn, I've met Sherry here. I don't know if there's others that I've met before. I apologize if I miss your name. But I really appreciate the collaboration of this community. And I look forward to introducing more people over time. And hopefully I'm not over time, by the way.
Oh, I think I messed that up from the beginning. So, we'll be fine. We'll make it happen. Brenda, I could go, I could keep listening to you, and you've covered a lot, but I think the way we can do this is maybe see what questions people have to you, and that way you could share, a little bit more about the tips that when you and I were talking, what you recommend, and you've already recommended things. But, so let's just ask if anyone is sitting with, a question.
And if you wouldn't mind speaking out, that'd be great, because the type is really small. How can we find peace in the time
Sarah?
of war.
There is a
I'm-
question. Oh,
Sorry.
yes, Marge?
Yeah,
Hang
I'm
on.
just wondering, in thinking about time, we're all saying that Michelle and Brenda, we're all saying such beautiful things. Do you think we could hear everyone and then ask questions? Because I'm
Oh,
thinking
that's a
some of
good
the
idea.
questions might be something that anyone, all of these great speakers could talk about. So just if we could,
I love
like,
That's a
I'm
good
looking
idea.
forward to hearing from all of them, and we'll just watch your time. So write down your questions. I'm writing questions here, and then we will answer them at the end, I think.
I think, Marge, that's a good idea. What do you think, Brenda?
I think that's a great idea, and I will just answer Fazia real quick, and then let's do that. So Fazia, thank you very much for your comment. And she says, how can we find peace in this time of war? And that, as we know, is such a difficult question. I think I teach yoga 7 classes a week, and I'm working with people who of all different ages, and veterans and first responders, and men and women who have really, they're lost. Just say it that way. It's through a lot of adverse situations that they end up in the place that they choose to go. And so we sit, and we sat today, and with the war that's going on right now, and when we clear our own selves, I really do honestly connect with Gandhi's statement to be the change. Because when we change our actual physical selves and we clear away the pain and the anger that is inside of us, then we don't become a nuclear reactor ourselves. Because honestly, these wars start and they're going on everywhere. This is a magnification of what's happening in every single city, right? And so when we can clear ourselves and be loving and kind to another, no matter how different they are and what their opinion is, and we're open to receive. One of the teachers in India shared with me, and I said, tell me more about faith and grace. And he said, faith is the openness to receive, and grace is the gift. So when we can be open and clear ourselves, then we'll also know how to act and what is our part. How can we play a role in the bigger picture? Yet in a small picture, that microcosm is magnified in the macrocosm. So now, Marge, thank you for the idea. Let's go.
Okay, I think we're going to have Sherry introduce our next guest, right, Sarah?
Yes. Over to Sherry.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Sherry Bennett, and my deepest passion and value is education. And through my work, I am privileged to be able to speak with Indigenous communities in Canada and the United States. And there's a lot of compassion going on there. But in the interest of time, and because I value education, when I learned about what was happening at Seneca College King Campus, where they teach the nurses and the personal support care workers, and when I got to meet Maria May in person, I'm just going to go ahead and please allow me to introduce you to Maria May, who is the Dean of Seneca College King Campus here in York Region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And you know, it's so hard to follow the words of Michelle and Brenda that I'm in awe. But I'm going to try my best to follow. So I have a little bit of a story to share with you. Part of it is a personal story that has kind of led me to where I am. And also it's a story of what we're doing at Seneca College with the King Township Women's Giving Circle, which I'm very proud to say that I'm a member of, but and so is Sherry. So there's some really wonderful work that is happening at King. So I'll start with a story. So it's a story of compassion and how it has carried forward. I'm very proud to wear many hats, as many of you do as well. I am a woman, a mother, a wife, a nurse, a dean, and a member of the King Township Women of Influence Giving Circle. My journey has not been an easy one. My parents were immigrants from Eastern Europe. They struggled to establish themselves in a new country. My father struggled with addiction and mental health issues, and my mother fled an abusive relationship with 2 young children and only the clothes on our backs. I share that story with you because it does make me the person that I am today. If it were not for the caring and compassion of those that circled around us, I would not be here. Seeing compassion enacted around me at a young age is what has led me to a career in a caring profession and continues to guide me in my current role as the dean, supporting community service programs and health science programs, as Sherry had mentioned. Programs that graduate students in the caring profession, such as social service worker, early childhood educators, nurses, personal support workers, and many more professions, and graduates that are very committed to giving back to the community in a compassionate way. It absolutely is the best job in the world. The stories that I have coming into my office as the dean are incredible stories, the challenges that our students are facing. And it is with compassion that I listen to them and support them, and however we can support them on their journey with education. And some of you this evening may have a very similar story where you have had challenges, and with your resilience you have come through, and you're here today because of wanting to give back to your community, because you yourselves have had those circle around you with compassion. So moving on to the King Township Women of Influence Giving Circle. So this is an idea that started at a lunch meeting at our Eaton Hall, our beautiful Eaton estate at our King campus in York region in around the fall of 2016. And it was the leadership of Joy Gooding, who both Sherry and I know that she's one of our senior developmental officers at Seneca, who really has led this initiative. And we have been supporting projects that have an impact since that time. So the Giving Circle is a group of women who live, work, or are associated with King Township community. And we contribute funds to support projects at Seneca's King campus and beyond. The Giving Circle represents empowered philanthropy that is fun, it is social, and it leaves an impact. We have different projects that are presented to us, and we have the opportunity to vote on the projects that we feel are going to have a direct impact to our community and impact to our students, as well as to the community abroad. Before COVID, we were meeting 3 to 4 times a year on campus or within the King Township community. The last couple of years, we have been meeting actually virtual. And there are 2 projects that I would like to share with you that we most recently funded that are really going to give back to the community, I do believe, in a very big way. The first is a project that we are supporting on preventing sex trafficking through evidence-based analysis. And this is a project that is led by Dr. Cami Condon. She's our academic coordinator of our crime and intelligence analysis program. And this also includes a plan on how we're going to work with a community partner called Abuse Hurts, and how do we analyze the data to support how we might be able to implement programming to prevent sex trafficking within the region. Another recent project that we have supported has been the Seneca Soup program. The program is an initiative that will help students struggling with food insecurity on campus by providing access to free bowls of soup. and students can sign up to this program. It would be on their student card that they would have funds put on there. So they don't have to identify themselves. They would just go to the cafeteria where they would actually be able to access a free bowl of soup. And so these are a few projects that we're very proud of, that have demonstrated compassion, and it is really our commitment to give back to the community. And I did want to share that you know, many of us are here today because we ourselves have seen the example of compassion within our own lives, and people that have made a difference in our own lives. And you know, that's why we're giving back. That's why we're here looking on how we can care, how we can create a compassionate community, and where we have others that have had the same opportunity of support, and they themselves are going to give back. So that's really what I have to share, a little bit of the work that we're doing, and we've only just touched it. This the Giving Circle has been in place for 4 years now. These are the last 2 projects that we have supported, and I think actually, Sherry, I would say they're probably some of the proudest projects that have had such an impact, or are going to have an impact within our community within the next year.
I agree. Thank you. Mhm.
That was, wow, Maria, I am impressed at what's happening at our doorstep. So thank you, Maria. I think Sarah's going to introduce her next guest. I think this is just getting, wow, amazing what's happening here. I see even Brenda down in California is like, woo, good stuff is happening up here. So yeah.
Doesn't it just keep filling your cup more and more, right? It's so encouraging, and that's why I think it's so important to have these conversations. So Maria, I would love to connect with you and get to know you. We would all, like in our group, love to again learn more, and then see a collaboration is key, right? In terms of even with the charters programming and the programming you offer at Seneca. So I'd love to have a conversation about that. So thank you,
Sarah,
so
just
much.
to let you know, Maria knows Susan as well. So the connections are getting pretty strong here.
Yeah,
I know. You know, Susan and I worked together for many years. Susan was a professor in our nursing programs at King Campus. So actually, Susan, it's such a pleasure to see you. I haven't seen you for a little while. So it's such a pleasure to see you. I'm really excited, Sarah, you know, when we look at collaboration, I'm really excited to see the opportunity on how we get our students involved. That how do we get our, I don't want to say our younger generation, because our students are you know, we go beyond generations, that it's not just our young generation, but what an incredible opportunity to have our students involved in a compassionate project. And so I think there's something there we can talk about when I think of the programs that we have. So whether it be our social service programs, our you know, we have police foundation programs, like, you know, I mean, to have compassionate police officers, and I mean, there's so many opportunities here. So I do look forward to carry on the conversation.
And we actually have Marilyn Turkovich, our executive director from the Charter for Compassion, with us, and I know she'd be really thrilled if I mentioned the compassionate integrity training that you know, the Charter offers, and that's something that is what I had thought about talking to you about. So we'll give Marilyn a chance as well to come on. But yeah, make a note of that. We'll introduce. I'll quickly, I'm seeing the time. I want to honor that Leena is here as well. So we say thank you to Maria, and we move over to Leena Mistry from the Canadian Library Project. A very exciting project that I've seen it start, and I've tried to help what I could, but I won't say more than that. Leena, I haven't met before, so I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Leena is still here, right?
Yes,
On mute.
she's on mute.
Leena?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. Technology. I'm so used to having personal meetings that Zoom meetings are just, it's just, I don't feel a connection sometimes, so I do apologize. But thank you for this opportunity to speak about this project. Normally our founder, Shanta Sundarasan, would be talking about this, but she actually is on a humanitarian trip right now for 2 weeks, helping out those in need. And so she has gracefully allowed me to talk about our project. And this project, the Canadian Library, it sort of stems from what we did in the summertime, which was the Red Dress Project to honor murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. And through that, I know as a woman, we've all been impacted in some way in terms of the treatment of women, and how these women sort of went through these atrocities and without letting their voices be heard, without their, we see their names and the names is not enough. So as a result, we wanted to continue the compassion, the story, the learning. And this project is out of humility and acceptance as settlers. And so it's just a grassroots initiative that has brought like-minded women together. And what we have done is, it's an art installation project that encompasses hardcover books that will be covered in Indigenous fabric. And this is supporting Indigenous businesses and many that are run by Indigenous women. And what we will do is that the art project will have the books covered in the fabric, and on the spine of every book will be the names of all the 6,000 names that we've gathered right now of murdered Indigenous women and children. And then we also will have the new names of all the unmarked graves that have been discovered and are continue to be discovered at residential schools that have closed. And we're hoping that once the installation is put together, that it will bring not passion, but also we sort of turn the lens to ourselves as settlers to see how this happened, why this happened, and why these names need to be remembered. Why just hearing about them is not enough, but to physically see. When I was introduced to this and I was seeing the names and I saw them on the paper, pages after pages after pages of names of women, of girls gone missing, murdered, children, unmarked graves, gone missing, murdered. The impact was great, but once we started putting the bookcases together, and to date, we have about 400 books that have been covered, that have been put on shelves. And just that number alone hits you hard. It hits you hard. As a mother myself, just knowing that these kids never got to grow. These kids and women never, or even the girls, never got to grow, never got to experience life. And to be taken away in such atrocious ways, it's just unimaginable, that we're hoping that this will somehow bring peace and justice to them. It will sort of start conversations amongst ourselves. I've been living in Canada for more than 45 years. And growing up in Ottawa, we would have, we would see powwows. I would go to them. I had friends, and I never understood to the extent of what they went through until you go onto one of their residences and you see that they have no water. They have no running water, something that we take for granted when we brush our teeth, having the water running, knowing that you have these little children, and knowing that there are some who are in unmarked graves that never got to see life, never got to experience playing, never got the experience to, run free and carefree as what a child should do. So this is what we're hoping with our Canadian Library Initiative. And, we continue to ask for donations of used books that are hardcover, so that we can continue to cover them. We're looking at fabrics, donations, Billy book cases, which will house all of the books. And then we'll start doing a little micro galleries to let the conversation start, and the healing to begin. And we're hoping that, you can visit our website. We also have an Instagram account. And it's amazing how many people will come to us and say that, I was a survivor, or I know someone who's a survivor, or I know someone who has passed and I can't, a murdered Indigenous woman or a child or a girl, right? And so it really hits you. And a story I have is that the first Billy bookcase that was donated, Shanta actually went on to Facebook in Facebook Marketplace, and she noticed a white Billy bookcase and said, we'd like to purchase this as our inaugural bookcase. And the person came to her place, provided the Billy bookcase, and he and his wife came along. And the wife said that my mother is a survivor of residential schools. And just in connection like that, to know that that was a sign that we knew we were doing something right, that we were moving forward. And that everyone who is involved in this, we have children involved in this, we have school boards involved in this, we have people from across Canada. One of our team members is in Edmonton, and she has the city in the province participating. And it's amazing how many people that this is touching and what can be done, and that continue to be done in the hopes that once this project or art installations together, that it'll find a home at the National Art Gallery, and it will be accompanied with a computer where people can go and read stories about the women. That it's not just the name, but it is the story that it goes along with these names, and how we've heard the names over and over again, but we don't know who they are. And this will give them a story. This will give them peace, hopefully, and through humility, through acceptance of our part on living on the land that is rightfully theirs, that this library is nothing that we own, but we're the caretakers of their stories, but it belongs to everyone. And that is where the Canadian Library has begun. It started in September, and we continue every day, collecting stories, covering books, storing books, and whatever in whatever capacity that we can help. We're hoping that this art installation will start conversations and will heal. And that is where this project is coming from. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll say your group is very good at asking for help. I follow you on the Facebook page, and there's always ways to get involved. So
definitely
everyone can do their little bit and be part of
just a little bit.
This creation.
Everyone owns it. Everyone, from just a hello to one book or a piece of fabric. They all this art installation belongs to everyone. None of us are owners of it, but caretakers. And every little bit comes with compassion, comes with wanting to learn and bring and sort of move ahead with reconciliation and peace. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Sarah, do you think we should recognize our dignitaries, even though some have left? But we meant to do this at the beginning, but we were so eager to start. So do you want to say something from Majid?
Yeah. We'll come back to our questions and finish off nicely with our guests. We had the Member of Parliament from Richmond Hill, Majid Johari, with us in the beginning. Majid has actually, I've been in communication with him and his office since we started, basically, telling them that, and he's been wanting to come and attend and wasn't able to prior to tonight. So really happy he got to hear firsthand what sometimes when you read it in an email, it's not the same thing. But that heart connection, he did write to me before leaving. He had another meeting. So he sent his greetings, and he also said he would love to learn more. He already has some ideas on government programs that we can get connected with, etc. So I'm open to a conversation. Really, we want people, we don't want to tell people what to do. We want people to see how they can support and how they can contribute. That's how this will grow, not by, telling people do this, except we will be saying something like that, Marge will, but that's like small things. So that was, and then we had Emily with us, our Richmond Hill Mayor, David West's Chief of Staff. Is that the title we heard? She sent a message. She's also left. She said, "Thank you for allowing me to attend on behalf of Mayor West. I truly enjoyed the story shared. Again, there was a connection made, and she'll take that back. I will mention, before our mayor was elected, as councillor, he has been, he's been with us since the launch of the initiative, and we have, he's very interested in seeing how we can spread this initiative. So I'm very grateful for that. Now, with that, we of course want to, most of us of co-founders are in Richmond Hill, but this is a York region wide initiative. Now that means we would love to have people from the 9 municipalities in this region slowly coming in now, right? Now today we have Markham represented through Leena, right? You're in Markham?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Then Maria, I don't know if you live in King City, but you have, you work there. So 2 new representations, right? And this is how we're envisioning it growing slowly, steady. Now, the last person I would like to mention is Marilyn Turkovich, our executive director. I don't know, Marilyn, are you still here?
I am.
Oh, I would like to just let you say a few things before we move further, please.
I know you're really pressed for time. And so I'm going to just invite people to the homepage. And Sarah, maybe you can put the homepage of the Charter for Compassion and use that as a roadmap to find out everything that's going on with the Charter. We just completed 40 Days of Peace, where we had 1 presentation each day. We probably reached close to 50,000 people during that time period. Next week, we start 22 Days of Compassion, which will lead us up to Golden Rule Day. But I want to share something about how the Charter works. So, Leena, I want you to, when you have a few moments, to go to the Charter for Compassion and look under the sectors and go to arts. And there you will find online exhibits. And as you were talking, I know the power of the arts. And a number of years ago, I went to Poland with a person who was in search of her family that died in the Holocaust. We came upon it wasn't necessarily a museum as much as it was a gathering place for the kinds of books that you're talking about. And as we went in, and if you go, you'll see on the online exhibits the pictures that I took during that visit, with all of these bookcases lined with each individual book, trying to trace the lives of these people. So I'm thinking,
yes,
wouldn't it be wonderful if we could have an online exhibit of what you are doing?
That would be amazing to know who it reaches to, how it reaches to. We are a global community. We're lucky that we're in an age of global community.
Yeah.
You know, where stories and compassion can be so far reaching because of that.
Yeah.
That
So
would be wonderful.
let's make contact. And
Yes, let's do it. Yes.
yeah, and then, you know, Maria, all those students that you're talking about, we need them. We need them for all kinds of reasons. One is that we feel a personal obligation to prepare future generations and current generations. I remember being in the presence of Margaret Mead shortly before she died, and she said to the audience, she said, you know, give me youth and give me seasoned people, people of wisdom, and forget about the people in between. And I know she didn't really mean that, but she said, you know, the youth are fearless and the older folks have the wisdom, and together they can change the world. So, you know, we have a need for conversation. We have a need for involvement. We have a need for, you know, Maria, if you could bring some of your students who would help with an online exhibit of what is happening with Leena. I mean, all of the networking that we need to do in order to really increase our level of communication at all levels. I would also invite you, one of the things that has happened since the last time I talked to you is that we've been really doing a lot to revamp our website. We've totally reinvented the toolbox for compassionate cities, but it's not only for compassionate cities, it's also for any group that wants to come together. 10 steps, bring together with looking at, and it's pretty simple to use, I hope, but of course, organizing and bringing people together is not an easy task. It's a long haul to do that. So, you know, the invitation is there. Please come and come to the website, and you have my email address there. So get in touch with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. This has been a very inspiring meeting. I'm sure you all feel it.
Definitely.
Okay, Sarah, should we open up the questions and then see if we can just sort of, I think Susan and I were going to just give people almost some homework to do, but I think people may look like, many faces look like they are anxious to ask questions. And what is Shashir? So I just saw you writing your pen with your pen there, Shashir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marge. First and foremost, I need to thank all of the speakers who came in today and shared their wisdom with us. It's essential that we hear and start interconnecting. This is the only way the message is going to get through. One thing that, however, disappoints me over and again is the representation that we see in the area and the arena of compassion. When we have about 25 people and 3 or 4 of us are in the male gender, it certainly causes an imbalance in terms of the representation and the power that we can exert upon our communities, our businesses, our governments, and our institutions. Because as you know, as you all very well know, you are underrepresented in all those areas. I sit on the board of Heart and Stroke Foundation for many years. And what did I discover? Women are underrepresented. Women are underappreciated. Women are under-researched. These things are always going to be something of a challenge for this compassion, this Charter for Compassion, which is trying to make headways. And it was Margaret Thatcher who said, if you want anything said, get a man. If you want anything done, get a woman. These are wise words. And it's a man saying it because I do know the difference will come about from all the steps that I see you people are making. And I am always available to help in any fashion that I possibly can. And I belong, thanks for saying that, Marilyn, I do belong in the aged category. So maybe there is a bit of wisdom already built in. So if I can share it, I'd be very glad to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention was I come from the world of business. And most decisions, if you notice, are always said, follow the money and you'll get the answer. My friends, that's where the decisions do get made. Whatever the politicians tell you, their decisions are always triggered by the money because they need to be elected. I'm not saying anything against Majid Johari, nor against our mayor. I'm just saying this is a human condition. It is always something to contend with. So if that is the case, I certainly think whatever Sarah, Marge, Sherry, Susan, whatever you guys are doing as a team, I really am behind you. I appreciate all that you do. A question was asked about warfare. Of course, it's an internal condition. Our yoga master told us that Mahabharata is playing within our own brains. On one hand, the fear, the other hand, the compassion. Which one is going to win out? And I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist because I believe for sure that we've come very far in a very short amount of time as a human race. And yes, the pendulum does swing back and forth. I hope, I pray it'll swing back in the right direction. Those were just some of my comments, and I really appreciated the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shishir. Thank you.
Okay. Is there someone else who would like to comment, question for any of our amazing speakers? We've had some, wow, amazing words said tonight. Anyone else here? I'm just looking at Kathy, always wants to talk.
I don't see, if you raise your hand or please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Yeah.
I know Marge does want to share our
just our things, and
just
Susan, so yeah, just.
I think, I don't see any hands, so.
Are we fine? Okay, so I will go ahead with my homework and then I'll pass it over to Susan. So I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to show our website. And so this has recently been developed. I'm up there on the, so it's just Compassionate York Region, okay? And we're trying, I'm not a webmaster, but we're talking about what we are. This is sort of, we started, I feel strongly that really to have credibility, we need to have a website. So it's there. We're posting our general meetings. So of course for today, so the next one is May the 12th. So we'll get that one posted as well. And then a pledge to be compassionate. And here, Marilyn, I have questions for you. So we've got this up as an individual and as an organization. So I've directed the links back to the charter. But if someone signs up, Marilyn, do we know if they've signed up? Do we have any way of keeping track if if people in York Region do?
Yeah, all you have to do is let us know the postal code. Very soon, this is something I hadn't talked about, but we are working on a mapping project. We're going into pilot probably in May with just 2 or 3 cities. And then actually you were going to be one of our next in this arena. So individuals sign the charter and partners, organizations become partners. So that when they become a partner at York Region, then they also become an international partner as well.
So it's like a double, two things in one, which I like. So, but we really will be sort of having almost a campaign going after certain individuals, which includes everyone on this call to sign up, to pledge to be compassionate, to do that. And then organizations we will go at. Shishir has told us to set targets. So that's why I'm really wanting to know if we're going to meet our targets. Okay. We've got a section here on what are we up to? So the Golden Rule Day, Charter for Compassion playlist, I just found that out last weekend. So if you're looking for some inspiring music, it's there. This here is Sherry Bennett's front window. Okay, so Global Reads, I'm a big fan of that. I know Susan is as well. And the film series I've been watching for the last few months, and Susan will talk more about that. But the homework is for everyone to sign up as an individual, those who represent organizations to sign up as organizations. So I'm going to stop sharing and just wanted to say that, it isn't, we've got the 4 of us that started it. a fifth person. She's been ill, so hasn't been able to join it. We took we threw out the a request to take the CIT compassion integrity training. A number of people did, and we've got more people on board, such as Nahid and who else? I'm missing a few
Tatiana.
people. Tatiana, yes.
Heather
Skoll. Yeah, there's a number of them that are, we were successful doing it, and it's been really good. We pair it up and been a very, very positive experience. And I hope many of you will do that. So yes, there are 4 identified co-founders. We have many friends, many partners. Shashir is a recognized sort of ambassador, advisor. We've got other people we've been talking to. So it is a growing organization, though we are still in our infancy. We needed the wisdom of Brenda to help us move where we need to go. So thank you for that. And I'm going to pass it over to Susan because she's going to talk a little bit more about other things that are happening.
Thank you, Marge. Hello, everybody. I'm Susan Kagan, one of the co-founders, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about some of the charter events. I know everybody's mind is probably full right now. There's just been so much information, but it's more than information. It's emotional too. You know, so that takes up a lot of space in our brain. It's given us a lot to think about and totally inspiring. So I'm just going to highlight some of the charter events. I'm going to share my screen and just show you some of them very briefly. All these are going to be posted. Where are we here? Yeah, there we are. All these are going to be posted on our website. So if there's something that strikes your attention, just refer back to it. Marilyn has already mentioned the 22 days of compassion campaign, and that begins March 14th, ends on April 4th. And then on April 5th, the Golden Rule Day starts, which I'll talk about in a minute. And really what it's about is it's a purpose is to ignite compassion, action in the global community. And it's essentially a social media campaign where different issues about compassion are highlighted. Then we have the Golden Rule Day, which starts on April the 5th. This is international. And the purpose of this is to focus on treating others and the planet as you would yourself. It's about being kind to other people, being caring about other people, and it's trying to make the world a better place. 700 organizations in 165 countries have joined in proclaiming the Golden Rule Day. And there will be a 24-hour online event broadcast which highlights the practice of the Golden Rule Day. Then we have the Global Read, one of my favorites. There we are there. It highlights a book every month. And we're looking at, in April, or actually March, we'll look at Jacqueline Winspear. And what's so fascinating about this is that you do read the book, you get into it, it's all about compassion, about getting to know other people, all that kind of stuff. But they have the author there. And the author really shares their perspective, their philosophy, and what makes them tick. So it brings a lot of life to the book. So I would certainly look into that because it's quite interesting. And then we have the film series, which is much the same. My internet doesn't want to work here. Yeah. So the Power of the Heart is the one for March. There's one each month, and you register for that. And the message in this film is really interesting. It's the heart is much more than a physical organ is the theme of this film, and it can actually transform your views of money, health, relationships, and success. And I think that is just so true. So have a look at that. There's many films, and they all look interesting. And finally, we have an education series, the Charter Education Institute, and there are many courses being offered. The one that's coming up in April is Gender Equity Reconciliation International. And this is a 7-week course, 19 and a half hours total. And really what it focuses on, it's the awakening of deeper empathy and understanding and beginning to discover practical pathways towards healing and transforming our relationships amongst genders. So if that's something that interests you, have a look at it, because the course that we took earlier, Compassion Integrity Training, was excellent, very well organized, and it was a lot to learn. So I would encourage you to have a look at some of the courses. There are many of them. And I don't know if Marilyn wants to add anything.
You know, I do. I was just writing it in the chat box. We are going to start a course at the end of April with Thomas Hubble. And people know him as probably the most renowned individual who deals with collective trauma. And, you know, he does that in different ways. He makes his money through working with business. So in order to help pay for his own institute Pocket Project. And so this is going to be a 10-week course. It's going to be extremely intensive. It will be based on neuroscience, basic psychology, a lot of looking at cultural issues. It will involve those 10 modules that I talked about, but it will also involve being in cooperation circles where you can really take the material and talk with people. We expect that we will have people from all over the world. We had Thomas Hubble as one of the guests for the 40 Days of Peace, and you can go to the 40 Days of Peace, which you've just seen where it's at. You can listen to his presentation and get a feel for what the course will be like. So I just want you to know about that. It's probably the most extensive course we've ever run, and unfortunately it will be the most expensive. But there are lots of pieces involved in it. We're looking and negotiating with them right now, the Pocket Project. It looks like it'll be about $335. It starts at the end of April and continues to mid-September.
Oh, wow. Lots happening. Sarah, it's about 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Should we sort of, any last questions, comments from anyone? Can we, and then I think Sarah's got a nice special wrap up for us.
Well, yeah, I've just got a slide with our next day. But you know what? I every meeting I walk away with, you know, I'm so inspired, and I want to thank everyone for your time. 90 minutes on a weekday, you know, it's a lot, but I hope you've also gotten recharged and, you know, ignited with something inspiring. We would love for you to become part of this movement. Again, you find out how, you know, we don't tell you. So by affirming the charter, that's the first thing we invite you to do for yourselves, right? A personal commitment. Thank you so much for everyone. I'm just gonna let me get to the last slide here. There. So can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So our next Compassionate York Region community conversation will be May 12th at 7:30. That's another Thursday. And the format is similar. We'll invite, you know, so whatever we did today, we'll invite, if you know any amazing local project, you know, I've put I should have made the email, we have an email. We will be sending a follow-up email as well. Our email is compassionateYR@gmail.com. And you can reach out to us if you'd like to receive updates. And that is it. I'm leaving you with this quote by Helen Keller: "The welfare of each of us is bound up in the welfare of all." Let's remember these words and all the other inspiring things we heard today. And I really hope to see a lot of you next time as well. Fawzia, I know, thank you. First time you've attended as well, from the Ahmadiyya community, which is also my faith community. We also have a interfaith symposium for women, by women, organized on Sunday, March 27th. And we can put that in the follow-up as well. Again, us finding out how we can serve humanity based on our faith teachings across different faith traditions. So make a note of that as well. Thank you. Thank you. Have a very good night. And I hope to see you next time.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
for having
Michelle.
us. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Su-